This is the United Inside News again. United's fixture change. Man UTD's game against Everton has been rescheduled for TV coverage. The Red Devils will head to Goodison Park on November 26th in a match that will be covered by Sky Sports. It will now kick off at 4:30 p.m. Meanwhile, Man United Supporters Trust statement. The Man United Supporters Trust have released a statement on Sheikh Jassim withdrawing his takeover bid. They said that it would be wildly optimistic to think Glazers are acting in the interests of supporters or are making ownership decisions which don't center on their own priorities. Elsewhere, Erik ten Hag could field strongest Manchester United attack for the first time versus Sheffield United. Key absences have not helped the Man United manager so far this season, but next weekend's trip to Bramall Lane could see things come together going forward. Erik ten Hag could point to several factors influencing Manchester United's dismal start to the season, and key absences would be high on the list. Up until the 93rd minute against Brentford on last weekend Saturday, United were on course to extend a run to 7 defeats in 11 matches across all competitions. It was only Scott McTominay's quickfire added time brace that gave ten Hag a vital 3 points and alleviated the pressure going into the international break. The reliance on McTominay to net the vital goals is somewhat telling, with United again struggling in front of goal. In the Premier League this season, 5 teams have at least double their meager total of 9 in 8 games. There are several potential explanations for that issue, with key performers from last season not playing as well. But with United now 2 months into the season, it cannot help that ten Hag hasn't yet been able to start his strongest front three together. Rasmus Højlund was United's marquee signing of the summer, arriving in a £72 million deal from Atalanta. But the 20-year-old's medical assessment found a stress fracture in his back, and he was ruled out for the first month of the season. He arrived off the bench for a much-anticipated debut in the 3-1 defeat at Arsenal in September. Having come on in the 67th minute, he got a grand total of 17 minutes alongside Antony and Rashford before the former was substituted. And during the international break that followed, the Brazilian took a leave of absence to address allegations of abuse against him, which he strongly denies, again and again. And welcome back. Inter Milan chief Beppe Marotta was asked whether the club would be open to re-signing Andre Onana amid a shaky start to life at Man United. He replied, "I can't predict the future, but in football anything can happen. For sure it was great chapter for Onana and for us. It was also a successful deal to sign him for free and sell for that money." Meanwhile, Gary Neville has outlined his 6 non-negotiables after it emerged that the Glazers have snubbed Sheikh Jassim's Manchester United takeover offer. In the wake of news that they are set to stick around, which has left fans calling in one of the club's darkest days, the former full-back posted a lengthy tweet in response. Outlining his 6 non-negotiables, he wrote, "The news last night of the Qatari withdrawal leaves Manchester United on the brink of a minority investment. Can this really work? And what impact will it have on a struggling organization? It's worth setting out my non-negotiables on a takeover of Manchester United that I made over a year ago. He must achieve this. Number 1 is a new sporting project. Number 2 is a new or redeveloped Old Trafford. Number 3, a new training ground. Number 4 is to make full redevelopment of the surrounding land to create a Manchester United world and amazing fan experience. Number 5 is to pay off the debt and stop taking dividends until the above is done." He then added his 6th in response to events in recent years, continuing that, "The club requires leadership that is statesmanlike on major issues that enables a fairer, more inclusive and diverse game." On the other side, Scott McTominay's future at Man United has been decided, reports suggest. McTominay was up for sale during the summer, with the likes of West Ham and Newcastle interested in the Scottish international Dowell. However, a transfer, which could have seen McTominay move for up to £50 million, failed to materialize. The 26-year-old had fallen down the pecking order under Erik ten Hag. But after his super sub performance against Brentford, when he scored 2 injury time goals to hand United victory, his importance to the team has once again been realized. The Daily Star now report ten Hag has ruled out the possibility of a January transfer. Elsewhere, Man United are reportedly undecided whether to keep Anthony Martial or not, according to ESPN. The French attacker sees his deal at Old Trafford expire at the end of this season. Again and again. You can ask yourself that, did Glazers ever want to sell? So, Sheikh Jassim offered double. But it finally looks like Sir Jim Ratcliffe has beaten Sheikh Jassim in the Manchester United takeover race. Current owners, the Glazers, announced last November that they would be seeking strategic alternatives, leading to speculation that a takeover could be on the cards. That, however, still seems unlikely after Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani dramatically withdrew his bid on Saturday night. It is understood Sheikh Jassim desperately attempted to convince the Glazers to sell the club, but was informed his offer, believed to be around £5 billion, was short of their asking price. Meanwhile, reports have suggested Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid for 25% of the club could be ratified at a board meeting as early as this week. That all means we could finally be heading towards the final furlong following an 11-month wait from fans on concrete news on the takeover front. So, United don't need Qatar's money to get what they want. Just last month, United announced the biggest shirt sponsorship deal in world football with a £60 million a year agreement with Qualcomm. That came just 6 weeks after the announcement of a new 10-year kit deal with Adidas worth £900 million. Even with all the on-field struggles, United remains one of the most appealing sports franchises for investment. And there is still plenty of room for growth under the right owner. You only have to take one look at Paris Saint-Germain to see the risks a Qatari takeover would have brought to Old Trafford, with the French giant seen more as a global marketing brand than a serious football club. So, what United takeover decision means for Ten Hag. United have been keen to push the idea that a takeover wouldn't have really altered their budget this summer and that financial fair play constraints would have still held them back. But taking the debt repayments off the books would help, even if only slightly, and Premier League financial fair play rules also allow owners to extend a £15 million loss limit across 3 years to £105 million via an equity contribution or a commitment to make a payment for shares. Quite clearly, owners with an intention to invest in the club would make a substantial difference. But that is what United don't have, and that will keep holding them back. Back in New York, Ten Hag exchanged a swift handshake with Avram Glazer at the club's New Jersey training base, again and again. Men are reporting that the club could push ahead with plans to renovate Old Trafford. The Glazers have put work on hold while a new investor was found, and they are keen to preserve the heritage the stadium has. United have considered rebuilding the Sir Bobby Charlton stand and increasing the capacity of the Stretford end and the scoreboard end. A hotel and a fan park could also be constructed. So, while construction work happens at Old Trafford, the capacity of the stadium is set to be reduced. Reports suggest just 52,000 fans could be allowed into the ground while building work is being done. Meanwhile, Ten Hag's job safe. Despite the potential incoming of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Erik Ten Hag's job as manager is not under threat. It is thought that the Ineos chief is looking to implement his own way of running the club and take a hands-on approach despite owning just 25%. But Ratcliffe supposedly does not want to get rid of Ten Hag despite a poor start to the season.